Hello, and welcome to the Full Circle Podcast, your source for insights into the science and art of endurance sports training and racing. I'm your host, Coach Laura Henry. Today is Coach Tip Tuesday. How much does it cost to train for a marathon? Over the years, I've watched athletes, including myself, embark on the path toward a goal such as a marathon without having a true understanding of what that process will cost in real, actual dollars. Some of the athletes I coach will ask me how much they should expect to spend on something like this, but if I'm being honest, most don't ask me. I don't even think a lot of them ask themselves. If athletes do ask me about the cost of an event or what it costs to train for something, they often don't ask me about it or even really think about it until after they've already signed up for a race. And because less than half of Americans run a budget for their monthly personal finances, much less run specialty budgets for things such as this, training for a marathon, even once an athlete has trained for and completed a race such as a marathon, it's improbable that they could actually tell you what it actually cost in real dollars to do it. The true answer to the question, how much does it cost to train for a marathon, is the most common answer to any questions that athletes ask me. It depends. But while there are a variety of factors that can influence the total cost of training for a marathon, there are definitely base costs that all athletes will incur as they train for an event like this. This week's Coach Tip Tuesday is the first in a series of episodes that are an effort to provide athletes with an accurate range of what they can expect to spend if they train for one of the four most common long course endurance events: a marathon, a half marathon, an Ironman, and an Ironman 70.3. This week, we are focusing on the marathon. All of the prices that I reference in this episode are current as of the time of this recording, which is in July 2024. Running is cheap and easy because all you need is a pair of sneakers. That statement is something I have heard so much over the years. And while it is technically true, it's also rather misleading, especially when it comes to training for something like a marathon. While I can agree that running is probably the easiest endurance sport to get into since it doesn't require a ton of specialty gear and because you're moving under your own power, training for a marathon does require more than just a pair of running shoes. Almost all races have entry fees, and marathons are no exception to this. The price of a marathon race entry fee varies widely. The race's location, its size, and the level of support that are provided on course are the main factors that influence a marathon's price. The average marathon entry cost is approximately $135, but prices can be as low as $50 for a local grassroots race and as high as $350 for big city marathons such as New York or Chicago. Related to but separate from the race entry fee, it's not uncommon for athletes to travel to race at their goal marathon. Travel costs can vary widely depending on the mode of transportation, the costs of the destination, and more. I've personally spent as little as $0 to travel to a race because the race was close to home and I could sleep in my own bed, and as much as $5,000 to do a race, such as when I ran the Great Wall Marathon in China. That being said, I actually have budgeted for each race that I've done over the years, and the average amount that I've spent when traveling to a marathon, including transportation, lodging, and food, has been $1,200 over the years. So that's the number that I'll be using for the purposes of calculating an average cost to train for a marathon. Running shoes are the most important piece of gear in marathon training. Over the course of a typical marathon training block, which is approximately 26 weeks or 6 months, most athletes will cover 500 to 800 miles in their training runs. And this means that they will need at least 2 pairs of running shoes in training. Failure to replace running shoes on time is one of the most common reasons that runners and triathletes get injured. On average, running shoes last for about 350 to 500 miles. How long they last is a matter of physics. The shoes are absorbing 5 to 7 times the body weight of the athlete who is wearing them. So the heavier the athlete is, the faster their shoes will break down and the more frequently that they will need to be replaced. It's really important when we talk about this to understand that we are literally just talking about physics here. This isn't fat shaming or body shaming anyone. Your weight is your weight. I'm 200 pounds as an example, and I've learned through tracking my miles on my shoes that I cannot exceed 350 miles on a single pair. I did get to 400 miles one time on one pair of shoes about 7 years ago, but that was a major exception to what is true for me. Once my shoes have about 300 miles on them, I can feel the difference in my body. And as we approach that 350 mile mark, I can really feel the difference. And usually there's a run where I'll be going and it's right at that 350 mile mark where I'll just know, yep, that's it. These shoes are no longer supporting me. And as I've talked about in the past, in episode 42, the best way to avoid injury is to listen to your body. So it's really important to replace your shoes on time when they're no longer supporting you. The average pair of running shoes costs $150 now, but prices of running shoes can range from $120 to $300 depending on the shoe's features. And a lot of athletes will delay replacing running shoes because they want to get the most bang for their buck. But as I've told several of the athletes that I've coached over the years, a new pair of running shoes is significantly cheaper than an injury and the medical costs that are associated with it. $150 to spend on a pair of shoes is less than what most offices are going to cost you if you're on a high deductible insurance plan in the United States. So believe me, folks, please replace your shoes on time. Please admit the physics that are in play and acknowledge what's true. And you can track the miles that are on your shoes in apps such as Final Surge, Garmin Connect, Strava. You can assign the shoe to each workout that you do and it'll actually track it for you. And in the case of Final Surge and Strava, they will actually send you a notification when your shoes are approaching any limits that you've set. So for instance, I have mine set at 350 miles in Final Surge. In addition to shoes, what clothing you wear while you're running is an important consideration. And while you technically can run in any clothing, your experience will be significantly enhanced if you are wearing comfortable, moisture-wicking fabrics and pieces of apparel that are designed to be worn while running. Common running clothing items include tops, bottoms, socks, sports bras, and headgear. Depending on the season, you may also benefit from items such as gloves, jackets, or sunglasses. The average price of common running clothing items is as follows. A running shirt will be about $60. A pair of running bottoms is approximately $90. Running socks, $17. A sports bra is about $65. A running visor is $30. Running visors are more expensive than running hats. It's a mystery to me why. Gloves are about $20. A running jacket is $100. And sunglasses that are not prescription are about $30. Maintaining an appropriate hydration status is one of the 3 most important things that endurance athletes can do to help their training and performance. While water is free if you get it from a tap, the vessels to carry hydration with you while running and the actual hydrating beverages in them, aka sports drinks, are costs that should be considered when you are training for a marathon. There are several different types of vessels that runners can use to carry hydration. The 3 most common are handhelds, waist belts, and running vests. These items vary in price based on the capacity of the vessel and how it is constructed. Prices range from $30 to $200 for a running specific hydration vessel. While this might seem steep, I can tell you that having a vessel that is designed to be utilized during running is worth its weight in gold. Carrying a regular water bottle in your hand during a run gets old super fast. And this is one of these things, folks, that I've learned over the years that no one believes me until they actually try it. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. I wish I had done this sooner. Trust me on this, folks. Hydration vessels are great. And while hydrating with plain water is definitely better than not hydrating at all during a workout, which is what a lot of people default to, water on its own does not replace the electrolytes that are lost during exercise. Consuming a hydrating beverage, aka a sports drink, something like Scratch Hydration, is what I recommend. Sports drinks are formulated to replace the electrolytes that are lost during exercise, and they help the body perform better in training and recover better after a training session. Better recovery means that you get better adaptations to training, meaning you get stronger and faster. So it's really worth hydrating each and every workout. Depending on your sweat rate, if you are properly hydrating all of your workouts, you will use an average of 10 servings of sports drink per week, which means that you can expect to go through at least 260 servings of sports drink in an average 26-week marathon training cycle. The cost for this number of servings is approximately $250. In addition to hydration, athletes training for marathons need to be consuming fuel at regular intervals during workouts that last longer than 90 minutes. This fuel is separate and distinct from an athlete's daily nutrition or their meals. Daily nutrition needs and requirements generally increase alongside an athlete's training. As you train more, your body's going to need more food on a daily basis, and so you're going to have to buy more food. So the costs that are associated with your daily meals or your daily nutrition will likely change as you train for a marathon, but how much is really difficult to quantify. When it comes to workout fueling, however, the things that you consume during a workout, you have more options than ever at your disposal. There are bars, gels, and chews and waffles that are specifically formulated to be easy to transport or carry with you while you're running and to consume while you're running. Athletes can use the pockets in their running apparel or the storage that is built into hydration vessels. In my opinion, the hydration vest is the best option for this. I'm such a big fan. And athletes can carry the fuel in these vessels with them while they're training and racing. Pricing for fueling will vary based on what type of fuel an athlete chooses, as well as an athlete's pacing and the duration of their workouts in training. Since fueling is based on time, these things, the pacing and the duration of workouts, really do matter. Based on the amount of training that the average marathon finish time, which was 4 hours and 30 minutes in 2023, requires, and based on an average price per serving for workout fuel, the cost of fuel for 26 weeks of marathon training is approximately $230. The path to running a marathon is a long one, to say the least, both in training itself and in the marathon on race day. Most athletes do utilize some form of guidance, either in the form of coaching or a training plan to help them be successful on race day. There are a wide variety of marathon training plans available for athletes to purchase. These plans are available for an athlete to use as soon as they are purchased, and they are specifically designed to help athletes prepare for the marathon distance. They are often written based on an athlete's experience level. For instance, they'll be categorized by beginner, intermediate, or advanced, and the type of metrics that an athlete might want to leverage, such as effort, heart rate, or pace during their training. Occasionally, a marathon training plan is written with a specific race in mind, and this tends to be true for big marathons such as the New York City Marathon or the Walt Disney World Marathon. However, that's where the specificity of this type of training option ends. Marathon training plans are otherwise rather generic, and they're not personalized for individual athletes. They're kind of t-shirt training plans are generic. They're kind of one size fits all in a sense. And because of this, this option is the cheapest way that athletes can get guidance for marathon training. The average price of a 26-week marathon training plan is approximately $60. Custom-built marathon training plans are designed and written specifically for an individual athlete. They take so many factors into account, including the athlete's goal race, the athlete's experience level, the athlete's training preferences, the athlete's goals, the athlete's personal schedule, the athlete's injury history, and so much more. This type of training option is written for and delivered to an athlete, and then the athlete goes and follows the custom-built marathon training plan on their own. There isn't any feedback or guidance given to the athlete once the plan is written and delivered. This is a really nice option for athletes who are self-motivated, who don't need or want accountability, and who don't need or want constant communication with a coach. Because they are individualized, custom-built marathon training plans are more expensive than generic marathon training plans, and the average cost of a 26-week custom-built marathon training plan is $600. Performance coaching is the highest level of personalization and the most guidance an athlete can get while training for a marathon. All of the same things: the athlete's goal race, the athlete's experience level, the athlete's training preferences, the athlete's goals, the athlete's personal schedule, the athlete's injury history, and more are taken into account for an athlete on performance coaching. But there's a higher level of detail in this option because athletes have unlimited communication with their coach throughout all of their training and leading into race day. Additionally, training is designed and written 1 week at a time versus several months at a time, and it can be adjusted on a very granular level, sometimes even daily, depending on how things are going in training and what things are happening in an athlete's life. Because this service has such a high level of personalization and communication, it is the most expensive coaching or training plan option that an athlete can select. The average cost of 26 weeks of performance coaching is $1,600. As you can see, once you list out everything that you either need or that is very helpful to train for a marathon, the costs do add up. Unfortunately, it's not quite as simple as get a pair of sneakers and go. Here's the total average amount you can expect to spend while training for a marathon, broken down by category. A race entry, $135. Race travel, $1,200. Running shoes, $300. One outfit of running clothes, $412. Hydration vessel, $100. Hydration beverages, $250. Workout fuel, $230. Coaching and training plans, a $60 to $1,600 range, but the average, $600. The total average middle of the road cost to train for a marathon is $3,227. It's way more than I bet you thought it was going to be, folks. Taking out some of the more expensive line items here, such as the travel and the coaching, if we go down to that $60 just basic training plan option, the low average cost to train for a marathon is $1,487. So it's still $1,500. It's probably still a little bit more than you might have thought in your head before you listed it out. If we factor in some high costs, such as travel and then full performance coaching, the high average cost to train for a marathon is $5,527. So while these calculations do represent averages, the truth that I've seen over the years is that athletes end up spending more than these numbers here. They want more than one outfit to run in. They might want more than 2 pairs of shoes. They may end up purchasing other gear. They may end up bringing a friend or traveling with family. They may end up choosing some more expensive things to train with their hydration and their fueling. There's a lot of different variables here, but this range, $1,487 to $5,527 is, while it is a big range, it's still a good ballpark so that you can understand what you're getting yourself into if you want to train for a marathon. It's not just $135 for your race entry fee. And it's really important, I think, for athletes to understand what the total costs can add up to, because training for a marathon does cost real money. And even if these numbers are high or scary to you as you listen to me, I hope that this cost doesn't deter you from training for a marathon if that's a goal that resonates with you. As I always say to the athletes that I work with, I want you to be able to go into a situation with the most knowledge possible so you can make an informed choice about what you feel is best for you. My job as a coach is to provide information and guidance to athletes. Sometimes that guidance and information is challenging for athletes to hear, but hearing it is better than ignoring it or pretending that it doesn't exist. I've seen time and time again over the years that an informed athlete is a successful athlete. The next time that you set a goal, such as running a marathon, I challenge you to list out and budget the costs ahead of time so that you can be in control and make educated, wise choices throughout your training process to give yourself the highest probability of reaching your goals. That was another episode of the Full Circle Podcast. Subscribe to the Full Circle Podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like what you listen to, please be sure to leave us a rating and review, as this goes a long way in helping us reach others. The thoughts and opinions expressed on the Full Circle Podcast are those of the individual. As always, we love to hear from you and we value your feedback. Please send us an email at podcast@fullcircleendurance.com or visit us at fullcircleendurance.com/podcast. To find training plans, see what other coaching services we offer, or to join our community, please visit fullcircleendurance.com. I'm Coach Laura Henry. Thanks for listening.